Well, I think that the issues in NDT is structural and conceptual. I think from the beginning it was destined to play exactly the role it is playing now, which is to become a patronage agency of the presidency. I think that from the conception, I remember that our engagement with the then head of state, Abdisalami Abubakar, led to the Unpadded Decree of 1998. That decree clearly stipulated, charged that commission with developing the Niger Delta, the oil-producing communities according to the priorities set by the commission, by the communities, and now charge the communities to set up community development committees. And it was these projects that the communities chose that were supposed to constitute the project. When the civilian government came in of Olusegun Obasanjo, that was immediately repealed and replaced with an NDDC Act that now charged the commission with the development of the Niger Delta according to how the priorities that will be set by the presidency, the federal government and the state government. And particularly in subsection 3 of section 7, that in carrying out those functions, the NDDC shall be subject to the control and powers of, subject to the direction, control, and supervision of the president and commander-in-chief of the armed forces. There is a problem. From then, what you see is that the NDDC now became an agency of the president through which patronages are dispensed. In the case we have seen, in later years, you can find out that since this administration, we have had almost 6 MDs within the 4 years. And there have been that penchant. Why is it that it's preferable to go outside the provisions of the law, to do things outside the law? For instance, there's no provision for interim management in the law.
All right, Mr. Mitty, before we go to that, the IMC component, now, the 1998 Unpadded Act, which you spoke about, eventually repealed, and then the NDDC Act came. 2 distinguishing features. Well, that decree was, just as you said, they were to carry out their functions. The priorities were as stipulated by the communities. Now, the Act then talked about as directed by, yes, the president, the state actors, as it were. But because even recently, not long ago, we have heard even some other governors have said, look, if you want development to come in, and paraphrase it now, say, look, it has to be coordinated by establishments, that communities can't be the ones determining how the structure of execution of some of those projects should go. So can we really say that the 1998 Unpadded Decree, which was repealed, was achieving the purpose that the Niger Delta for development to come into the area?
Yes, what has always been the issue here is that the communities of the Niger Delta say, and in fact most communities, that sometimes they are scratching them where it's not itching. So how do you know what the communities want? And what that decree did is that at the local government level, you are now going to have a local government community development coordinating committee, which is to now harness what comes from each of the communities affected in that local government. And then the states were also to key in. So what you see was a bottom-up approach, not top-down, where people sit down and decide what they think are the priorities. How does a community, for instance, that does not need a road, or they need a road, then what you give them, sometimes you say that you are going to buy, face masks for the police. How has that got to do with the communities that are affected? each day people are dying because things are not done how it's supposed to be done.